I know, I'm looking sharp. I want to say real quick, thank you to everybody who's been commenting on my new attire. I've gotten a couple of new shirts over the weekend. Somebody told me that I was flexing and stunting pretty hard. My dress code is on fleek. Folks, these shirts, they came from Target. Today, folks, we are going to be talking about the difference between an inmate and a convict in prison. And for those of you who don't know, there are some major differences, and we are going to break this thing down to each individual syllable. This will be the most informative video that you ever see on the matter. What is the difference between an inmate and a convict? I mean, if you put both words on the table, they pretty much might mean the same exact thing. However, in prison, they most certainly don't. Folks, before we go any further, I do want to take a moment and address our sponsor for this video, an awesome mobile game called Coin Master. Coin Master is a social game where you build your village and attack or raid other villages. The game has amazing pets that can boost your skill. Also, Coin Master is the most downloaded game in the UK in 2019. You can log in using your Facebook to play with your friends. You can give them gifts, attack their village, or raid their coin. And I'm not even trying to be funny saying this, but as soon as we were ready to film this video, I clicked on this game and I realized that somebody had raided my village and taken 1.4 million coins from me. What? Tell you what, we about to raid some stuff right now. Yeah, we about to build. We're building a village shop right now. You see, we building. Also in this game, you can collect cards to get more prizes. If you need a specific card, you can ask for it in the Coin Master trading groups on Facebook. So make sure you follow Coin Master on their social media for even more events and prizes upcoming. And if you use the After Prison Show exclusive link down below in the descriptions to download this game for free on either Android or ISO, folks, you're gonna get 300,000 coins for free just for downloading this game, again, from the link down below. Y'all use that After Prison Show exclusive game app link and get y'all them 300,000 free coins. Folks, there's one final thing to mention about Coin Master. You can invite your friends to play and get 40 free spins, so there shouldn't really ever be a time when you're running out of any coin on Coin Master. So again, folks, very special shout out to the sponsor of this video, and it's with all of that being mentioned that what do you say we go ahead and dive? That was a pretty weak dive right there. Head first into this video. That was better. That was better. Folks, if you ever get locked up, and I pray for Jesus that you never do, if you've ever been locked up, I hope that you never have to go back there. But one thing is for certain, if you ever do, or if you ever have, you learn real quick that there is a major difference between the word inmate and convict. If you let the dictionary tell it, the word inmate means a person confined to an institution such as a prison or hospital. I never knew that somebody confined to a hospital was referred to as an inmate. I thought they was a patient. And the word convict, which also could be pronounced convict, like getting convicted, means a person found guilty of a criminal offense and serving a sentence of imprisonment. And one final definition that I want to throw in real quick, the Urban Dictionary's definition of convict: a person serving a sentence in a jail or prison, a person who has been convicted of a criminal offense, street slang, I'm pretty sure they meant street slang, for a thug or man out of incarceration. They put an S instead of a C. Trying to survive freedom. So according to the Urban Dictionary, the word convict, the street slang meaning for that is a thug. Boy, that dude is such a thug, he a convict. But forget what Webster's Dictionary or the Urban Dictionary say altogether, folks. They ain't got no clue compared to how we about to break this thing down right here. When you first get locked up for the very first time, I can remember mine. Ugh, still kind of hurts. But when you first get locked up for the very first time, let's just say hypothetically, in a parallel universe, because it's never going to happen in this universe, not here on After Prison Show, it's not, that I myself, Cody, Aggie, Dave, Danny, Shannon, Rabbit, or any of y'all are ever going to get locked up. But maybe in some parallel universe, when you're getting locked up for the very first time again, you learn real quick that there's a major difference between an inmate and a convict. When you first get locked up, you go to jail first, and then God forbid, you could be going to prison after that if you get convicted and sentenced to prison time. But when you first get into that jail, you're gonna hear all sorts of things that are gonna stick with you for the rest of your life. The way that people talk in jail.
What's up, everyone? Joe here. Fresh home after 7 years and feeling crazy. as hell.
You'll hear words such as Junie cakes, and we're not talking about no Little Debbie snacks, we're talking about your hind parts. You'll hear things such as white girls, and we're not talking about Caucasian women. We are talking about an iced honey bun. Again, folks, you will hear words that will stick with you and words that you will learn, and also phrases that will do the exact same thing. They'll stick with you. Things that you will never for the life of you ever be able to forget. Hey, yo, hey, I ain't no inmate. Man, I ain't no inmate. I'm a convict. I ain't no inmate. Hey, yo, you an inmate. I'm a convict. Hey, I live by that convict code. I know the convict code. You know that convict code? Hey, yo, I give you my convict word. I'm trying to, boy. Oh yeah, we've actually learned a thing or two here on After Prison Show about that convict word. In that video, you shared some very graphic things, mostly pertaining to your charges. You've also talked about the proof. You know, you talk about your sister and how she has this paperwork. And I want to clarify, you know, will this be something that we're able to see?
Yes, it will. She's right now. When I called her yesterday and asked her about it, she said as soon as she can get to the bank, she'll go to the safe deposit box. You can have all the paperwork that we have.
And you know, it's why you're hearing so much talk about convicts and inmates. I ain't no inmate, I'm a convict. You an inmate, I'm a convict. That you're gonna start to realize that there is a major difference. Forget what the definitions of these words are. In jail or prison, especially in prison. Oh, these two words, they are polar opposites. So let's go ahead and start with the first word, inmate. What exactly is one? Folks, an inmate is somebody who has never served or hasn't served that much time at all. An inmate is oftentimes going to be fresh meat or a newbie. Somebody who is also green, who doesn't really know the ropes and how things go while locked up. An inmate is also in most cases going to be a young person, but not in all cases. I've been locked up with old heads who are getting locked up for the very first time ever. And I'm trying to tell you, they are the worst type of inmate. Because them old heads who get locked up for the very first time, 9 times out of 10, they're getting locked up for horrible type charges, or they're getting locked up for something like this cellie of mine that I had one time who had a Fed case, who was actually trying to snitch on me in an effort to not have to do any time himself. This dude went from inmate to Tekashi 6ix9ine real quick. Now folks, I know we're talking about the difference between an inmate and a convict, but I have to also mention that there's a middle road too. And that is Tekashi 6ix9ine. So it goes inmate, Tekashi 6ix9ine, absolute full-blown snitch, convict. Now this thing's gonna get confusing real quick because an inmate can also be kind of like a Tekashi 6ix9ine as well. So a person could be 3/4 inmate, 1/4 Tekashi. And folks, there could also be convicts just the same. An inmate is also going to be more prone to tell something, more prone to go full-blown from inmate straight to Tekashi 6ix9ine. I've seen it happen a million times, and the reason for that is because they're scared. It's their first time being locked up. They don't want to be locked up. They don't want to be a convict. They'd rather be Tekashi 6ix9ine and back out there in the free world. Who cares what they got to tell on to get there? And again, inmates don't really know the ropes while locked up. They don't know about the atmosphere or the environment or the temperature of a certain facility. And they most certainly don't know a damn thing about prison politics. There's such a thing as a prison politic? Who's running for election? Prison politics oftentimes refers to the unspoken rules. Who runs what? Where can you sit? What gang is in control of what part of the yard? Prison politics oftentimes refers to the unwritten rules of an institution. Things that a convict, oh, he's absolutely gonna know. And before we go any further, I know there's probably one person who's wondering, Joe, what were you? You know, you served most of your life locked up. I have. I'm not proud of that at all, but I've spent most of my adult life locked up. I'm 36 years old now. I've been home after serving 7 years in prison for over 3 years now, the longest amount of time as an adult that I have ever been in the free world. What were you, Joe? Were you an inmate or a convict? Well, one thing I can tell you is I definitely wasn't a Tekashi 6ix9ine. But you know, if I had to say one way or another what I wasn't really a convict. Then again, I wasn't really an inmate neither. And that doesn't mean that I was a Tekashi. I don't condone snitching at all. But I was a little of both. The inmate and convict, not the Tekashi. And the reason I say I was a little of both is because there were times that I had inmate type tendencies. You know, I can remember getting to the very last prison that I was at, even though this was only a level 2, even though this was a therapeutic community. They referred to this prison as a community and not a prison. But folks, do not let that dilute the fact that this was a prison and there was a lot of gang activity at this place. But I had an inmate type tendency while I was there. I had a lapse in judgment, or I made a bad call that could have almost turned into a bad play and then could have turned into me putting my shoes on and having to fight an entire gang. And it all stemmed from the telephone. Some prison politics. Because you see, we've talked about this before here on After Prison Show. There's certain cars, not actual vehicles, but certain groups that you can get in prison. And everything is kind of like grouped, including the telephones. You're gonna have your bloodline, you're gonna have your Crip line, you're gonna have your AB line, and then you're gonna have the auxiliary line that's reserved for whoever's just got that phone. But if you're not in a certain car when it comes to the phone, oh, you just ain't gonna walk up there and just jump on a phone. Ain't happening. I did that. I made an inmate type call, and not an actual phone call, but an inmate type move. I remember I got moved into the housing unit. It was a sunny day, beautiful day, too beautiful to be in prison. And there wasn't a single person on the phone. And when I got moved into this open dorm housing unit, it was just about to be count time, which meant that all the prisoners had to vacate the day room area, and they were all back by their bunk area. I went and I put my stuff away. They did the count. They did the recount. They did another recount. I don't really know what the criteria is to be a prison guard, but it must only entail being able to count no higher than 10. 1, 2, comes after 2, 4, 7. Recount! Oh, you're gonna deal with plenty of recounts in prison. Count time is the worst time. But when count time finally ended and count finally got cleared, they opened the day room back up. And I ran and jumped on the telephone. Nobody was in no real hurry to get to the phone. This was a 100+ man dormitory. I just knew I was about to get a phone. Nobody was about to beat me to the phone. I ran up to that phone, picked up that phone, wanted to call that girl so bad I punched in that number. So you gotta call her quick and call her all the time to make sure that Jody don't ever get her. Jody, the infamous boogeyman that will steal any man's girl while you're locked up. But I ran up to that phone, picked it up, dialed in that number, and somebody tapped me on the shoulder. Tapped me on the shoulder like I was tapping them numbers into the phone. What you want? See, I want no convict, so I didn't respond that way. Excuse me, kind sir. Wow, you are very muscular. Have you been working out today? How can I help you? Can I assist you in any manner? Thug life for life, straight convict code. You got my convict word, that's how I responded. Excuse me. This black fellow with a teardrop tattoo looked at me like Birdman with that crazy icy cold stare, that glare. Hey, what you doing on the phone? Kind gentleman, sir, I am trying to call my prison pen pal girlfriend to make sure that Jody's not over there. Can I assist? Would you like a cup of coffee? You see that list right there? There's a phone line. In fact, you ain't gonna get on this phone. Sir, I apologize sincerely. You know what? I don't even need to use the phone. I had an inmate lapse in judgment, and I learned real quick that there were certain levels to this ish. Like Meek Mill says. And I had to get in a different car. In fact, it took me 2 or 3 days before I was even able to get on the phone. You know, another characteristic about an inmate is they might talk to the guards just a little too much. Look, when you get locked up, the guards, they might be nice guys. And you know what? They could be some of the nicest people you ever meet. They will be far and few between. Most of them will be some of the worst people that you've ever met. They might talk to you worse than a stray dog on the street. But even if they are nice, you can't be having too much interaction with them. An inmate might do that because they could be scared or because they're about to Tekashi 6ix9ine the entire world. Hey, guard, thank God. Hey, look, I wrote you 5 pages. This is everything that's going on in this housing unit. Forget it. This is everything that's taking place on this prison compound that is not supposed to be happening. Can I get an extra hot dog tray? Here you go. The main characteristics of an inmate, somebody who has never served time or definitely hasn't served that much time. An inmate cannot be a convict if you've never been to prison. You cannot be a convict if you have never been to prison. How are you a convict? You have been in the city jail for 3 weeks, but yet now you got the teardrop tattoo to represent the hard time that you done did. And you got a pluck tattoo. You got you a pick and poke tattoo with a timepiece on it, representing every hour that you spent. Boy, you ain't no convict, you an inmate. An inmate will be green, fresh meat, a fish, somebody who could be prone to tell, somebody who cries, Somebody who laughs and jokes and plays a lot of games. That's the best way that I can describe to you guys what an inmate is. Now, folks, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the more sinister of the two, the infamous convict. What exactly is a convict? And what separates that individual from the lesser of the two, the least harsh? The grass is always greener side of the rec yard, an inmate. Folks, the first thing that I wanna say in relation to convicts or people who consider themselves convicts, for me personally, like I never understood why there were people who I was locked up with who just wanted to be known and wanted everybody to know that they were convicts. You know, you've got people who are never going home, and in those situations right there, if you're gonna be a convict, you're just a convict. Because you're never gonna see freedom again. You've got to adapt and accept the current situation and the future situation that you will always be in. But you know, while locked up, you're gonna have these guys who just always, at least once a day, say the same thing over and over again. I ain't no inmate. I'm a convict. I live by that convict code. I give you my convict word. You know, it almost sounds to me like an R&B song. I'm not an inmate. I'm a convict. 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 Boy, Cody the auto-tunes. I'm on to something in here. And you know, don't get me wrong. If you're doing years, if you've been locked up for a long time, and we're talking like more than 7 years. 7 years is the longest time that I've served. I can't be a convict. Because to me personally, a convict has got to be somebody who served like 10 at the very least. 10 years at the very least straight. But we're talking more towards your 15s, your 20s, your football numbers, your linemen. 50, 25. You're a convict at that point. You got to become one, or you become a victim. A convict is somebody who absolutely adapts to prison life. They've been through the trials and errors. They started as an inmate for sure. Nobody ever goes straight to convict. You can't level up that way. You have to start at inmate. Now, you can take the off-ramp and bypass Tekashi 6ix9ine altogether, which I did. I just never made it to convict. Or you can cut right through. But if you cut right through and you go through Tekashi 6ix9ine, you're never going to make it to convict status. You won't, because it don't lead to that part of town. Convict is way over there on the west side. A convict is going to be your seasoned vet. A guy who's been locked up for most of his entire life. A guy who has done a ton of time. Potentially also somebody who's never going home, God forbid. A convict is going to be your OGs of the prison. Oftentimes your old heads. They definitely some convicts, or they're absolutely in the way. Because you see, when you level up to OG status, 85% of them dudes are going to be convicts. But the other 15%, oh, they're going to be in the damn way. The most annoying, complaining old folks that you will ever run across. A convict could also be somebody who's been through the prison system a time or 10. But again, we're talking about somebody who's done an excessive amount of prison time. We're talking about long bids. You're in for the long haul. Oftentimes, convicts are going to be like that old Bone Crusher song that I liked. I really like that song. Never scared. Hey, I'm a convict. I ain't no inmate. I'm a convict. I ain't never scared. Never ever scared. I ain't never scared. Never ever scared. I ain't never scared. Never ever scared. Y'all remember that? That joint used to be knocking. T.I. was on that song too, wasn't he? Convicts in a lot of cases, not all cases, now keep this in mind, this is very important. In a lot of cases, convicts could be your biggest, bulliest type prisoners. But not all convicts are going to be like that. You can meet some of the nicest OG old head convicts that they just wise like an old owl. They quiet. They sit back. They mind their P's and Q's. They don't ever see nothing. They don't talk too much. They don't do no laughing and joking neither. So if you play with them, hey, what's up, old head? How you? You don't run up on them type of convicts like that. A convict like that, them old head quiet dudes who definitely living that convict lifestyle, them dudes is like a wild dog. Run up on them the wrong way if you want to, he gonna bite your whole face off. Some convicts could even be your most muscular type prisoners. And these are the guys, see now we're getting into some sketchy territory right here. Because not every single big, super muscular dude who looks like he's been eating steroids is gonna be a convict. You know, some guys get big in prison just to try to look like the big tough guy. Don't get me wrong, I've definitely seen some of the biggest dudes be some of the baddest dudes too, and they sure enough are some convicts. But on the flip side, I've definitely seen some of them biggest dudes fall down like the biggest sequoia tree in the forest. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, does it make a sound? And see, trying to decipher the difference between these big guys, are they really a convict or are they just all mouth? That's just gonna take you having to sit back and observe the situation. And you know, that's like a prison catch-22. Because in prison they tell you, you ain't never supposed to see nothing. Keep your eyes up here. But the only way that you learn how to adapt in prison is by sitting back and observing. So it goes without saying that that is definitely a fine line to skate while serving time. Convicts have oftentimes also been to some of the worst prisons ever. And I've met quite a few convicts who have shared absolute horror stories about prisons in days past. Places such as The Wall here in Virginia, a place that's no longer here. A place where it was rumored in a major prison myth, I don't even know if this was true or not, that this place was so violent that prisoners used to get their life taken from them and their bodies hidden inside the walls of that prison, which I'm pretty sure is in part the reason why that place was nicknamed just that, The Wall. Convicts don't laugh and joke a lot neither. You're not gonna see them playing and horse playing. There's a lot of prisoners who do that. Those type of prisoners are gonna be your inmate type prisoners. While I was locked up in prison, I did some playing. I'm not gonna lie. I had my little clique and the dudes that I would laugh and joke with and horse play. Hey, boy, you just grabbed me. You just touched me. I thought we was horse playing. I didn't know we was doing some Real Housewives of the Penitentiary. Convicts ain't gonna do that though. They ain't gonna do no playing. And oftentimes you're gonna hear them say, just as much as you will hear them say, hey, I'm a convict. I ain't no inmate. You an inmate. I'm a convict. And I don't do no playing. I don't play no games. I don't do that laughing and joking, that horse playing stuff. Straight convict. I give you my convict word that I don't. You know, some convicts don't even smile. And as much as I could turn that into a joke right now, I'm not. Because even though in part that is kind of funny to think about, you don't do no smiling? So you gonna sit here and tell me that you ain't never smiled? That's actually a really sad thing to think about. You know, when a person says or feels like they don't have a reason to smile, that's pretty damn sad. But just as your convicts can be some of your biggest, toughest prisoners who have served excessive times at some of the worst prisons ever, there are some negatives to being a convict as well. Actually, some really annoying things about convicts, such as the fact oftentimes convicts are going to be state-struck or institutionalized, meaning they've been locked up for so long that they believe that the property they are issued, their state-issued property, such as their pillow, their pillowcase, the state soap, oftentimes with the name Lisa on it. I always wondered why that soap had the name Lisa on it. Some of these guys are going to think that stuff absolutely belongs to them. They treasure that type of stuff. That's what it means to be state-struck. When you start believing that them state-issued items belong to you, such as your prison cell. You know, some of the most state-struck convicts I've ever met in my life are these guys who will buff and wax their cell floor. Now there's hygiene. There's good hygiene habits and there's cleanliness. You want to clean and mop your cell, you'll do that once a day, or some guys don't even do it once a year. But then some guys take it to the absolute extreme. Sweeping, mopping, and then getting the buffing machine in there and buffing and waxing that joint like it's a Walmart floor. And then gonna have the audacity to tell you when they're calling you inside of their cell, Joe, why would a convict be calling you inside of his cell for? That you need to take your shoes off before walking on their floor. Their concrete prison cell floor. Hey, yo, I just buffed this floor. Hey, stick man. Hey, stick man, I ain't no inmate. I'm a convict. I just buffed this floor. You better take them dirty prison sneakers off before you walk on this floor. And even worse than that is being housed in a cell with a convict who is just like that. Hey, yo, you ain't gonna get off the bed with your naked feet. You better put some socks on. I just waxed this floor. This joint's shinier than a Walmart floor. Again, folks, there are some major differences between being an inmate and a convict while locked up. I've tried to dissect the two as much as I possibly can in this video, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed it. You know, if I missed the mark in any type of way, I hope that you guys will comment down below and let me know. But if I nailed it, you guys let me know that as well. Tell me what you guys thought about this video, and if you liked it, please leave a like and a comment on it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Oh, also, one other thing. Don't ever find yourself in a situation where you have to be categorized as either or, an inmate or a convict. And if you ever do, for whatever reason, God, I hope that it's the only time. I hope that it's brief. And I hope that you learn your lesson from it. But for the love of God, if you ever do find yourself in a situation where you have to become either or, do not become the middle road. Tekashi 6ix9ine.